Hi you cool cats, Kadrian here, the Sax Habit Coach, bringing you the best practice tips and tools and ideas to help you as a beginner saxophone player develop the practice habits and routines to master your saxophone faster. My purpose is to serve, motivate, and to inspire you. So if it's your first time here, consider subscribing and remember to turn on that notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video on this channel. We first make our habits, then our habits make us, according to Dryden. The habits we practice are the ones that ultimately decide our destinies in whatever field of work we find ourselves or whatever craft we choose to work on. And for us, of course, it is the saxophone. In this video, I'm going to break down 3 habits that if you are practicing any of these on your horn, you should desist right now. So, as a beginner saxophone player, you may have found yourself looping one of these 3 habits or a combination of them all. Now, these habits are not good for 1, your health, 2, the health of your horn, and 3, its durability over the long run. So when you first got your horn, providing you bought it new or fairly new, it was a clean and shiny object that you couldn't stop looking at, and you were very anxious and excited to play. But as time goes on, the newness wears off. That's called hedonic adaptation. It's no longer new, it's just normal, and so you don't treat it with the care you used to in the beginning. Now, the first thing you should stop doing is stop leaving the horn unswabbed. Whenever you practice and you leave the horn uncleaned and unswabbed, the saliva that's left inside of the horn stays there and dries into the horn, which later leads to the decay of the metal and your saxophone pads. Now, this decay is synonymous to living near the sea, where the salt eats away at anything that's metallic. More than that, you also run the risk of developing saxophone lung, a lung-like disease caused from not cleaning one's horn, mouthpiece, and reeds after each use. I'll link in the cards above for a video I did specifically on saxophone lung. So make it a practice to swab and clean your horn after every single use. The second thing that you should stop doing is blowing in the horn with food particles in your mouth. I believe almost everyone makes this mistake at the beginning of learning to play the saxophone. Unless, of course, you had a teacher that taught you the very fundamentals and was obsessed about those before you even learned to blow your first note. And even so, human nature kicks in, right? So never blow in your horn after you have had any kind of food, be it sweet drink, coffee, or a plate of food of any kind, without brushing your teeth. When you blow in your horn after having a meal or sweet drinks without brushing your teeth or rinsing your mouth properly, the particles have a tendency to go into crevices in your horn that the swab cloth cannot reach, and gunk is built up in those areas and on your saxophone pads. Those particles cause your pads to rot and contributes to your saxophone sounding stuffy. So what I tend to do when I go to events where I know I'm going to eat, I walk with my toothbrush kit. Otherwise, I rinse my mouth as thoroughly as is possible so that the food particles doesn't get into my horn, causing it to get stuffy. The third thing you should stop doing is grabbing your horn by its crook or its neck. You should always hold your saxophone by the hardest part or the strongest part of the instrument, which is the bell or the bore of your horn. Because if you hold it by the crook, you run the risk of it bending or breaking, and that could ultimately lead to your saxophone falling and being so badly damaged that it's no longer playable. So if you find yourself doing any of these things or practicing any of these habits, stop now. In the comments below, I also want you to leave your contribution as to one practice other saxophone players should desist from carrying on their saxophones. And as always, push play until something happens. Peace.